Welcome to day 7 of Introduction to Python. In our previous class, we've seen how if statement is working, if else statement, if else if statements are working. In today's class, we are going to look at how nested if statement is working. And in nested if statement, we know it's an if inside if statement. That means the syntax is if conditioned, then another if condition. We have statement, we have else outside, inside the if, and then another else outside the indented or the nested if. So we are going to use this syntax and see how we can apply this nested if statement in a real world example. We are going to take this, for instance, we are going to write a program that can be able to print out whether the number is even, odd, or it's negative. We know in our mathematical dealing, our even numbers are what? Evenly divisible by 2. That's it. You can be able to divide a given number by 2 without any remainder. While odd number are those numbers that are not divisible by 2. So whenever you try to divide them by 2, certainly you are going to have a remainder of 1. Whereas we know our negative values are those numbers with what? With negative sign before the integers. So follow me in this class as I exhibit the practical scenario of this. So as we know, we have been able to save our file with the name nestedif statement.py inside a VS Code. So we have our VS Code ready to work with. So we are going to start. We say it first of all, we need to have a variable. Let's assume this variable that we are going to assign can be a number that we want to test upon it. We have number which we are going to assign a 10 value into it. Then we are coming down to have our if condition. We know in our if statement we said we have if, then condition. I always love to give my condition inside parentheses. So if condition, sorry, not condition as I said, it should be a number. Is this number now greater than 0? So this is what we are going to try to look at in the first instance. Is this number that we have inserted is greater than 0? Because what we are driving at now is to see how we can be able to predict if that certain number we have inserted or we have declared on top is an even, odd, or negative number. That's what we are driving at. So is this number in the first place greater than 0? Meaning that if it is not greater than 0, then definitely we know this is going to be what? This is going to be a negative value. So we have, is it greater than this? So if this condition is true, if this condition is true, it's going to print, it's going to move to the next if. So the next if is going to be indented, and then you have another condition. So now the condition you are going to look at here, you remember our arithmetic operators where we have modular or a module, that's where we use our percentage symbol, right? So now we are going to have a condition of this number. Is this number, if you divide it by 2, are we together? If it is divided by 2 and the remainder now is equals to 0, this is what we are saying. If this number is true, so it's going to move to the second if. And then the number again, if you divide it by 2, the remainder is going to be 0. Fine, then it should now execute the first statement if this is true. So the first statement is going to be print. So we are going to print the number is positive and even. Are we together? So this is what we are trying, but there is a mistake in our syntax because we did not include it inside a double quote. Are we together? So that is why we are having That's arrow. So, and here we also need to include a double quote here, so that we will not have this. The same thing here. So we are done with this. After this, you remember, just take this outer if noun. Let's deal with the inside if. So the inside if noun is going to be the same thing with our normal if else statement or if else statement. So here again we have else, right? Else, there is no condition because we are dealing inside with only if else statement. Are we together? So we are going to print again. What are we printing? It means if this value, this very first one, is false, that's if you divide it by 2 and the remainder is not equals to what? 0. It means it's going to be what? Odd number. This time around is false, right? The first one is true. That is why it's execute the first statement to go ahead and print the number is positive and even. So if it's false, so it's going to what? Take the second statement where it's going to give the number is positive and odd. Are you together? So the number is positive and odd. Are you together? So if at this point, all this from this place now, if this first condition that this number is not greater than this time around, all you need to consider is this if statement. If this is wrong, the only thing you go about using your if statement this time around is not if else statement. Are we together? Just get the logic. We are dealing with if or nested if. That is if within if. So look at it this way. Please look at it critically this way. We have two if. The first if with its own else. The second if that's inside the if with its own if also. So if the first if the condition stated there is not satisfy the condition, that's the statement doesn't satisfy the condition, so it's going to be negative. So at that moment, if it is negative, so it's going to jump to what? To the last what? To the last else. Are we together? To the last else. So that is why you see we have indented this two to be inside while this one to be outside. So else, we have the statement for the second one. So the statement is going to be what? The number is negative. Are we together? So the number is negative. So this is what we have here. Let's try to execute this and see the output. But first of all, let me just clear this our terminal to be empty. Run this and see. So you see now, so the number is positive and even. So if we change this again to probably 9, let's run it and see. So it's going to be what? The number is positive and odd because it's not divisible by 2. Again, if we change this thing maybe to -9, so because -9 is definitely less than 0. So you see now, the number is negative. So this is the real world example of how our nested if statement is working. If you do enjoy this class and you find it worthy, please don't forget to share our video, like and comment in the comment section. So now let's try to utilize our input function so that we can be able to insert our values within this code, right? So now we are going to have our input is going to be integer this time around. So we are going to have int, then we have input, right? I hope you did not forget about this. So double quote now. So here we are going to what? Input or write any number to be classified, right? To be classified. So this is what we have entered. So the system is going to write, or the system is going to prompt the user to write any number of his choice. So after you have written that number, then it will come and execute this thing. So now we are going to run this program and see. So boom, this is what we are having. So if we type 50 this time around, 50, and then hit enter, so you see the number is positive. If we run this again and then we type again, still if it is 0, because we have is greater than 0, so definitely this is going to be somehow confusing, but let's run it. It's going to be an error. Yes, it's going to be an error because we did not include greater than or equals to in the statement. But if we said greater than or equals to, it will have print even number. Now let's run it. So let's type 0 and see. So the number is what? Even. It's classified as even. So if we run this again and then type minus 20, so the number is negative. So you see now, this is how you now apply this nested if statement in a real world example. Thank you for being with us. Remain blessed.